the chat, which is a chapter a day. So we are going to start like that only. Abdul Prabhu, you are joining for the first time now for the chat. So what we do is, last time we did verses. This time we are going to do translation. So each one of us will be reading uh, five verses translations. Each one of us, and like that we can complete the chapter. Then we'll do 5 minutes kirtan, and after that we will start our session. Today we are going to talk about Brahma's lifetime. I think this is the question which was raised even when we were doing DYS, Discover Yourself, or Gita in nutshell. So we'll discuss that. Okay, so maybe I can share the screen and then everybody can read together. Sorry, today Kishori and Gita Priya both were little not well. So we decided to do in online. Yeah, okay. I'll remove this also. Okay. Shall we start? So Adut Prabhu, maybe we can start from you. You can read five verses, only translations, and each one of us can go in a cycle.
Yeah, sure. Arjuna inquired. Can you hear me?
Yes, crystal clear.
Yeah, okay. Arjuna inquired, O my Lord, O Supreme Person, what is Brahman? What is the self? What are fruitive activities? What is the material manifestation? And what are the demigods? Please explain this to me. Who is the verse 2? Who is the Lord of sacrifice? And how does he live in the body, O Madhusudana? And how can those engaged in devotional service know you at the time of death? Verse 3. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, the indestructible, transcendental living entity is called Brahman, and his eternal nature is called Adhyatma, the self. Action pertaining to the development of the material bodies of the living entity is called karma or fruitive activities. Verse 4. Can you scroll down, Prabhu? O best of the embodied beings, the physical nature which is constantly changing is called Adhibhuta, the material manifestation. The universal form of the Lord, which includes all the demigods like those of the sun and moon, is called Adi Daiva, and I, the Supreme Lord, represented as the super soul in the heart of every embodied being, am called Adi Yajna, the Lord of sacrifice. Verse 5. And whoever at the end of his life quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attain my nature. Of this there is no doubt.
Thank you, Abdul Prabhu. Just to recap for everyone, we are going through a chapter a day. We are reading all the translations of this chapter 8. Okay. Namra Prabhu, you want to read the next 5 verses? Once this is completed, then we'll start the session.
Sure.
Yeah, if needed, both can read, Prabhu. First you can read, then Ninki Mataji can read.
Yeah. So 6th verse, right? I'll just read from the book, so no need to scroll.
Yeah. Whatever you are comfortable with. In fact, do this. Let me remove this verse also.
Verse 6, whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. Therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. With your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. He who meditates on me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in remembering me, undeviated from the path, he, O Partha, is sure to reach me. One should meditate upon the Supreme Person as the one who knows everything, as he who is the oldest, who is the controller, who is smaller than the smallest, who is the maintainer of everything, who is beyond all material conception, who is inconceivable, and who is always a person. He is luminous like the sun, and he is transcendental beyond his material nature. One who at the time of death fixes his life
So
air
we are
between
going to start the reading. I mean, the class from 10th verse. We have already completed 9th day before
Okay.
last week, day before. I mean, 2 weeks back. Now we are going to do from 10th verse. Just FYI. Go ahead, Namra Prabhu.
Yeah. One who at the time of death fixes his life air between the eyebrows and by the strength of yoga with an undeviating mind engages himself in remembering the Supreme Lord in full devotion will certainly attain to the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Thank you, Namra Prabhu. Will Dinky Mataji also read, Prabhu? Or
No. She's
okay,
she's right now in some
no
work.
problem.
Yeah.
No problem. So Prahlad Prabhu, you want to read next 5 verses?
Yeah, I will read.
Okay.
From 11th,
Yeah.
persons who are learned in the Vedas, who utter Omkara, and who are great sages in the renounced order, enter into Brahmana. Desiring such perfection, one practices celibacy. I shall now briefly explain to you this process by which one may attain salvation. And verse 12, the yogic situation is that of detachment from all sensual engagements, closing all the doors of the senses and fixing the mind on the heart and the life air at the top of the head. One establishes himself in yoga. Verse 13, after being situated in this yoga practice and vibrating the sacred syllable Om, the supreme combination of letters, if one thinks of the supreme personality of Godhead and quits his body, he will certainly reach the spiritual planets. Verse 14, for one who always remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Partha, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. Verse 15, after attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection. Verse 16, from the highest planet in the
Last
material
time,
world.
Prahlad Prabhu was asking about Brahma's lifetime. So this verse will be explaining that. So we'll be discussing this also today. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Prahlad Prabhu. 16 and 17. Oh,
From
sorry.
the
16.
highest.
Sorry. 16. Anand Prabhu, you want to read next 5 verses?
So I can read. Am I
Yeah.
audible?
Yes, very clearly, crystal clear. Go
So
ahead.
from which verse should I read?
16.
16. From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery, wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. By human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together form the duration of Brahma's one day, and such also is the duration of his night. At the beginning of Brahma's day, all living entities become manifest from the unmanifest state, and thereafter, when the night falls, they are merged into the unmanifest again. Again and again, when Brahma's day arrives, all living entities come into being, and with the arrival of Brahma's night, they are helplessly annihilated.
Hmm. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yet there is another unmanifest nature which is eternal and is transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested matter. It is supreme and is never annihilated. When all in this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is.
Thank you, Anand.
That, oh yeah.
5. Oh, after long, Shikha Mataji, you want to read? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Can you all hear me?
Very nice to hear from you, Mataji.
No, thank you for these Zoom session classes. Seriously,
Thank you.
We are able to listen to the classes. We have 21st, right?
Yeah, 21 to 25 you can read.
Okay. That which the Vedantis describe as unmanifest and infallible, that which is known as the supreme destination, that place from which, having attained it, one never returns. That is my supreme abode. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is greater than all, is attainable by unalloyed devotion. Although he is present in his abode, he is all pervading and everything is situated within him. O best of the Bharatas, I shall now explain to you the different times at which, passing away from this world, the yogi does or does not come back. The mystic who passes away from this, those who know the Supreme Brahman attain that Supreme by passing away from the world during the influence of the fiery god in the light at an auspicious moment of the day, during the fortnight of the waxing moon, or during the 6 months when the sun travels in the north. The mystic who passes away from this world during the smoke, the night, the fortnight of the waning moon, or the 6 months when the sun passes to the south, reaches the moon planet, but again comes back.
Thank you, Shika Mataji. So, Rahi, Hare Krishna.
So Prabhuji, he is my friend actually. He is joining us from Houston, but he
Yes.
doesn't have like he's right now traveling, so he
Okay,
might be on only
no
mood.
problem, no problem. That is fine. So maybe someone else can read. Akshay, you want to read? Maybe you can do 2 verses. One verse you can do. Manjari can do 1 verse, and Ramesh Prabhu can do 1 verse. So everyone gets a chance. Acyuta, you want to read?
Prabhuji, I'm driving actually.
Sure. No problem.
Sorry.
Manjari, you want to read?
Yeah. According to Vedic opinion, there are two ways of passing from this world, one in light and one in darkness. When one passes in light, he does not come back, but when one passes in darkness, he returns.
Yeah, one more you can do, and last Ramesh Prabhu can read.
Although the devotees know these two paths, O Arjuna, they are never bewildered, therefore be always fixed in devotion.
So all this from 23rd to 28, all this coming back, going again, all this we'll be discussing the next class. So yeah. Okay, Ramesh, you want to read the last verse? Then we'll start with the session.
A person who accepts the path of devotional service is not bereft of the results derived from studying the Vedas, performing sacrifices, undergoing austerities, giving charity, or pursuing philosophical and fruitive activities. Simply by performing devotional service, he attains all these, and at the end, he reaches the super eternal abode.
Thank you. Okay, we'll do 4 minutes kirtan. We'll do it 7:17 till 7:20. We'll do kirtan, and then we'll start our session, which is from verse number 10. It today is little technical, especially first 3 verses, but then after that again bhakti will come. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you so much again for everyone for joining this session. Sorry for some unforeseen circumstances. We had to do an online session, but hopefully from next week we'll again get back to in-person sessions. So when I was doing the kirtan, I was remembering that how in cricket, when the players come or when the cricket starts, cricket match is about to start. Before that, there is glorification. Someone is shouting, Sachin, Sachin. Some are maybe shouting, Kohli, Kohli. Why all this? Because glorification is whenever something starts. In this case, it was just cricket, but there's always some glorification. And similarly, when we do kirtan of the Lord, we are basically glorifying the Lord, because we are going to talk about him. So before doing that, we want to take the blessings of the Lord and also glorifying him. As I mentioned many times, kirtan come from the word kirti, and kirti means to glorify. And that is the reason we do the chanting of the holy names. It's not some kind of rituals, but it is reminding ourselves that we are just a tiny jiva, and Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That reminder is very much needed at every time. Why? Because here Krishna is saying that whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. Correct? So, but how will we remember that? Is by constantly remembering about Krishna. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam, taje tante kalevaram, tam tam evaiti kaunteya sadatad bhava bhavita. How we are remembering, whatever we remember at the time of death, that kind of body we will attain in the next life. Right? So what we are going to do is now, we'll quickly do the Mangalacharan prayers, and after that we will start the session. We can all sing together. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद. हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. पश्चिम परिहारे Okay. So we will start with verse number 10. I'll quickly go to that verse. Is everybody able to see my screen? Everybody is able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Prabhu, we can
So I'll
see.
just quickly summarize whatever the main gist that we discussed till now. What the main gist that we discussed till now was that how death can come anytime, right? We see here many pictures. right? Death can come anytime. This girl is being the reporter, but suddenly she faints. Looks like a minister in a cabinet. Suddenly he faints, right? We here see accidents. So death can come anytime, but whatever our consciousness is at the time of death, that is the body we will attain. This is a very, very important concept that is taught in Bhagavad Gita, because it is said that entire life is a preparation and final death is the examination. And what we do throughout our life will be shown at the time of death, right? So similarly here, a lusty person throughout his life, at the end of the next life, because whatever he does, whatever he remembers at that end of the life, that kind of body he will attain in the next life, right? That kind of body. So we would have done something good in our previous life because of which we got the human form of life, but not necessary that will continue. If we are not using this human life for the thing it is supposed to be used, right? We discussed this verse in during Gita in a nutshell, which was ahara nidra bhayamaitunam cha samananitat pashubir naranam dharmena hina dharmo hitesham adhiko vishesho dharmena hina pashubir samanam. That ahara nidra bhayamaitunam cha, that these four things are common between animals and human beings. Ahara, nidra, bhaya, and maithun. Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. These four things are common between the human beings and animals. But dharmo itesham, human beings are supposed to inquire about higher truths of this life. If they're not doing, then it is very much high chance that they might get the body of animal. A lusty person might get the body of a dog. Why? Because dog can produce many, many puppies. Correct? A lazy person might get a body of bear. An envious person might get body of snake. A body exposing person might get body of a tree when someone will come and do something and go away, right? You see here a cat. And a person who gets into eating animals, he might get a body where he might be able to facilitate that even more, like a lion here, correct? So this is what we discussed till now. And that is why Krishna is saying that you need to be able to remember me so that at the time of death, you can remember me. So throughout your life, how you can remember me? Krishna is saying, here we see, right? That how, here you see the person who is cooking meat will get the body, who is sleeping and exposing will get a body of bear, right? So like this, Krishna finally says that you have to remember me at the time of death. So how can you remember throughout the life so that you can remember me at the time of death? He's saying, we discuss this. Kavim Puranam Anushashitaram Anoraniyam Anusmaritya Sarvasya Dhataram Achintya Rupam Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parastat. Right? That these are various ways. Remember me as the older of the oldest. And there are many Anoraniyam. We discussed all this. So we'll not go again into that. Now we'll discuss from verse number 10th to verse number 12th. Here Krishna will be discussing about how yogis can attain, how they live their life, how they end their life, right? So someone might say, oh, this bhakti yoga and all, remembering me and all looks very superficial, looks very difficult. So maybe I can do some yoga, because nowadays if you see, yoga is very, people all want to do yoga, correct? So that's why Krishna now explains the Shat Chakra Yoga. This is the next 3 verses. Oh, one thing before that. In fact, 2 things. If possible, keep Bhagavad Gita along with you, because we'll be reading some purports as well. And second thing is, today I was discussing with one of the devotees, and I was telling that we will be doing online reading. So the devotee was mentioning that a lot of times during online classes, people are busy, distracted, something else doing. Please understand, this is not some office meeting. This is actually, we are discussing about Krishna. We're discussing about Supreme Personality of Godhead. So how much to the best of our capacity, we can try to focus, because throughout the entire week, we get distracted in many ways. This is the only time when we can give our 100% to Krishna. Krishna actually is only looking for one thing from us, nothing else. But he says in 9th chapter, we will see Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam. So what he wants is very simple: water, flower, all this. So he doesn't ask for a lot. One thing he really likes when someone gives is that is attention. That is something that Krishna is really looking for, is giving when Jiva gives his attention or her attention. So for next, how much time we have? 1 hour is only remaining. For next 1 hour, we can just try to understand this concept that Krishna is trying to explain, that why Bhakti Yoga is so supreme through the chapter sections that we are going to read now. So here he says in 10th verse, Prayana kale manasa chalena bhaktya yukto yoga balena chaiva bruvor madhye pranam aveshya samyak satam param purusham upaiti divyam. So here, what is the link here? He's saying Arjuna didn't understand the method of fixing the prana in Agya Chakra as part of Shak Chakra yoga practice. So Krishna will now explain the process of performing it and the goal achieved. So here Krishna is explaining that, okay, if you think it is difficult to remember me, then you take the path of yoga. Okay. And which is saying that there are various chakras. I can show you here. Here you see there are so many chakras: Muladhara Chakra, Kundalini Chakra, Swadhisthana Chakra, Nabhi Chakra, Anahata Chakra, Vishuddhi Chakra, Agya Chakra. So what happens is the prana, the devotee or the yogi is trying to move the chakra, the prana, from Anahata Chakra, where the soul resides, to Agya Chakra, and from the Sahasra, from the top, the soul goes away and attains the next destination. So here the yogi is trying to basically decide his own destination. That is the power of a yogi. Yogi can do that. Yogi can control things compared to a person, a normal human being who cannot control things. He doesn't know what is his next destination. But a yogi can do it. Yogi can do it. We'll read the purport very nicely. Krishna explains it, so that will get more clarity. Yeah, here. It's especially the first two paragraphs. Who wants to volunteer to read? Maybe?
Yeah, I can.
Go ahead. Who said?
Yeah, me, Prabhu. Namra.
Go ahead, Namra.
In this verse, it is clearly stated that at the time of death, the mind must be fixed in devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For those practiced in yoga, it is recommended that they raise the life force between the eyebrows to the Ajna Chakra.
Agya Chakra.
Agya
Chakra is here. Let me show it again. So this is Agya Chakra at the forehead here, right?
The practice of Sat Chakra Yoga involving meditation on the 6 chakras is suggested here. A pure devotee does not practice such yoga, but because he is always engaged in Krishna consciousness, at death he can remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his grace. This is explained in the verse 14. The particular use of the word yoga balena is significant in this verse because without practice of yoga, whether Sat Chakra Yoga or Bhakti Yoga, one cannot come to this transcendental state of being at the time of death. One cannot suddenly remember the Supreme Lord at death. One must have practiced some yoga system, especially the system of Bhakti Yoga. Since one's mind at death is very disturbed, one should practice transcendence through yoga during one's life.
So here Sri Prabhupada is saying, even if you practice yoga also, which is like a yogi, if you practice, I mean, that also you have to do it. You have to practice it to be able to perfect it at the end of the life. So it is not like anything you can do just at the end of the life and you can attain perfection. Even Shat Chakra Yoga and all that, still you have to practice it, right? And why the Yoga Balena word is so important is because yoga comes from the word dhatu yujya. Yujya means to connect. What to connect? Connecting the Atma with Paramatma. That is why yoga is there. Yoga is not there to make the body or something, or to show off our body, or to control something. But actually yoga is used for connecting the Atma to Paramatma. Right? So we'll go to the next verse and we'll discuss the 10, 11 and 12. Together we'll discuss once we complete it. Okay. So let's go to the next verse. Okay, perfect. So we'll go to the verse number 11th now. Okay. So now someone might think that meditating only on the prana, life air, is so difficult, right? Kuch mantra bintra hai kya? So that I can do that also, plus I can do this also together, because mantra gives little bit of holding on to something, correct? Because when you think of meditation, you think of only on the mind. But when we are doing some mantra, then there is some gross element getting engaged. In this case, it will be tongue. correct? So Arjuna might ask that to Krishna, that Krishna, you're telling me to meditate on this prana, Agya Chakra and all that, but ye sab thoda subtle level pe. So what, give me something more which I can hold on to. So Krishna says this verse. Who wants to read the translation? We'll skip the purport for this one. We can read the translation. Who wants to read?
I will read.
Go ahead.
Persons who are learned in Vedas, who utters Onkara, and who are great sages in the renounced order enter into Brahman. Desiring such perfection, one practices celibacy. I shall now briefly explain to you this process by which one may attain salvation.
Okay. So here he is saying that along with that, you can utter Omkar. So again, mantra meditation. He's talking on mantra meditation. We'll see what does it mean. So in the previous verse, the focus was on yoga. In this verse, one who is learned in the Vedas, the focus is on having jnana, right? And in the next verse, you will see karma. And then Krishna will say that all these three things are actually difficult only. And then we'll again go back to Bhakti Yoga. We'll see that now. Okay. 12th verse. This verse is very nice. We can read the verse as well. Sarvadwara nisamyamya manoriddhi niruddhya murtinyathat mana pranam astito yoga dharanam. Okay, who wants to do the translation? Priyanka, you want to read? You didn't get a chance till now, so maybe, and then someone else can read.
Yeah. Sorry, I had another device also which was playing.
Yeah.
The yogic situation is that of detachment from all sensual engagement, closing all the doors of the senses and fixing the mind on the heart and the life air at the top of the head. One establishes himself in yoga. Do you want me to read the purport as well?
Yes.
To practice yoga as suggested here, one first has to close the doors of all sense enjoyment. This practice is called, can you pronounce that word?
Pratyahara. Let me show you what is, let me show you. So Pratyahara is part of Ashtanga Yoga. There are eight limbs of yoga. Let me show you. Everybody able to see my screen, no? This screen also, no?
Yes.
Okay. So if you see, these are 8 yogas. Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayam. So these 4 are easy. Easy in the sense of these are, you can think of it like a ladder. First, abstinence, what you should not do. Niyama, what you should do. Then you do some kind of asanas. Asanas is again at gross level, correct? Then pranayam, it is breathing, it is little bit subtle. Then one comes to the level of pratyahara. Pratyahara is completely giving up of sensual engagements, withdrawal. And then dharana, meditation, dhyana, and samadhi. Correct? These are going at the topper level. So this is known as Ashtanga Yoga. So going back to the verse where we were here. Yeah. Okay, go ahead, Priyanka Mataji. So we are talking about, so 4 is already done. Pratyahara is withdrawal of the senses. So closing the doors of all sensual enjoyment. We will see that what it means.
This practice is called pratyahara, or withdrawing the senses from the sense object. The sense organs for acquiring knowledge, the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and touch, should be fully controlled and should not be allowed to engage in self-gratification. In this way, the mind focuses on the super soul in the heart, and the life force is raised to the top of the head. In the 6th chapter, this process is described in detail. But as mentioned before, this practice is not practical in this age. The best process is Krishna consciousness. If one is always able to fix his mind on Krishna in devotional service, it is very easy for him to remain in an undisturbed transcendental trance or in samadhi.
Right. So here he's saying that But already Srila Prabhupada is saying this is very, very difficult. But Krishna is still giving Arjuna all these options. Krishna first told that you perform Bhakti Yoga. But Bhakti Yoga, sometimes what happens is we find even chanting, which is very simple process, sometimes very difficult. Then Krishna says, okay, I'll give you some other process. And when we hear that, then we think, I think wo pehla wala better tha. I'll give you an example. When I moved from Yahoo, now I'm working in, I moved to VMware. So first 2 years, I was working on a project which I felt was very, very difficult because it was little, you can think of it like it was layer 5 and layer 6 in OSI model. Oh, I mean, people who are in techie, they might understand. It's basically little bit, I mean, it was not really application layer, little bit related to software defined networking and all. And I was already cribbing, yaar, ye to bahut tough lag raha hai, ye, wo. And then that project got closed. And from last 2 months, I'm directly working on kernel level, which is layer 2 and layer 3. So now immediately I started saying, "Arey, wo project." Yesterday I met manager one-on-one. I told, "Oh, agar project khul jaye wapas, so I'm happy to go back." So once I came to know that there are more difficult paths, then I felt this previous project was better. Similarly, Arjuna, when he heard that he remembering Krishna, he might think, "Arey, remembering so difficult hai." Then Krishna started saying, "Okay, I'll tell you another yogic path." And then Arjuna will say that, "Oh, wo to aur difficult hai." Then he will understand, okay, why Krishna consciousness, simple bhakti yoga. I mean, bhakti yoga is so simple. It's so simple, right? That we'll see. But we can understand it. So imagine controlling all our senses completely, right? Shutting it from all sensual enjoyment. It is so difficult. And then controlling the life air. Either, even nose cannot control. Even our tongue, we cannot control. We have to control the life air and move our life air from up to down, right? We can't even control our bowels. It is so difficult, correct? So we can understand this Kali Yuga is very difficult. And that's why Srila Prabhupada is saying that this practice is not practical in this age. It is very, very difficult. So when we see people saying that I'm going to yoga, practice this, that, I'm going to some Kundalini yoga, these are good in order to maintain our body, but not to attain perfection. Because it is not possible in this age. This age is made in such a way, Kali Yuga, we will see that. This Kali Yuga is full of two things, quarrel and hypocrisy. It is filled up. You see anywhere, there is quarrel, there will be constant quarrel. Either it will be between manager and the person below him. It will be husband and wife, or husband and maybe child or wife. There will be quarrel somewhere or the other, or two politicians will be fighting, or two people will be fighting who are supporting their own politicians, right? You see on YouTube, you see on social media, there continuous quarrel, and there is full of hypocrisy. That is the nature of this Kali Yuga. And that is why in such vulnerable age, it is very difficult to control the subtle level. And that is why we have to understand that this Kundalini Yoga, all these different yoga that people have come up with, it is only good to control our body in order to maintain our body, to at some level maintain our mind, but not to attain love of God, Krishna. And we will see if we don't do that, then we'll still get stuck in this material world again and again. We'll see that in the 17th verse. Okay, so we'll do one more verse, and then after that we'll go back to the slide. Who wants to read the 13th verse?
I can read, Prabhu.
Yeah, go ahead. Acyuta Balaram Prabhu.
Only the translation or verse?
Yeah,
also?
translation. No, this one you can read purport as well. Then we'll go to the slide again.
Okay. After being situated in this yoga practice and vibrating the sacred syllable Om, the supreme combination of letters, if one thinks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and quits his body, he will certainly reach the spiritual planets. Purport. It is clearly stated here that Om, Brahman, and Lord Krishna are not different. The impersonal sound of Krishna is Om, but the sound Hare Krishna contains Om. The chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra is clearly recommended for the sage. So if one quits his body at the end of life, chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram,
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
he certainly reaches one of the spiritual planets according to the mode of his practice. The devotees of Krishna enter the Krishna planet, Golok Vrindavan. For the personalist, there are also innumerable other planets known as Vaikuntha planets in the spiritual sky, whereas the impersonalists remain in the Brahma Jyotir.
Yeah. Here, Namra Prabhu is saying the biggest quarrel is between choosing right and wrong in mind project. Yeah, that is so true, right? Sometimes it is even difficult to choose between right and right. So this is just the nature of the material world. So
Yeah, I-
go ahead. Acyuta Prabhu, you were saying something? Okay.
no. I was saying that I saw this video where they mentioned that in in Dwapar Yug there was this quarrel between like
Ah,
Danav and Dev, and then in in Treta Yug there was quarrel between Danav and Dev. In Dwapar Yug it was between cousins, right? And in Kali Yug it is like within the person's mind only.
yeah.
Yeah.
So true. So true. Yes. Thank you, Namra Prabhu. So till now, Krishna is talking about the yoga path. Now Krishna will say, Arjuna will ask that, okay, this looks very, very difficult now. This is even more difficult than what you were talking about. So Krishna will again come back to Ananya Cheta, Satatam. Chitta. Chitta means heart. Ananya means no deviation. Focus your heart without any deviation. On whom? Mam. Smrati. Remember me. See, he spoke a ninth verse exactly on the same thing. He spoke about how you can remember me. Kavim Purana Manusha Shastaram, Noraniyam. You can remember me all these ways. And then someone might think, hey, remembering बहुत difficult है, right? If you want, I can remember my other opposite partner, right? But remembering Krishna is difficult nowadays. But when we hear all this, then we think, okay, this is easier actually. Remembering Krishna is easier, right? Okay, we'll discuss this in a much more detail. We'll try to also recite this verse. Ananya cheta satatam yomam smarati nityashah tasyaham sulabha partha nityayuktasya yoginah. Ananya cheta satatam yomam smarati nityashah tasyaham sulabha partha nityayuktasya yoginah. For one who always remember me, what he's saying, without deviation. Why is saying without deviation? Because all the previous 3 verses or 4 verses, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, he discussed was it also had bhakti, because you cannot attain perfection without bhakti. You have to have some level of bhakti towards Lord Vishnu, towards Lord Krishna. That bhakti is needed. But that bhakti is not without deviation. It has little bit of yoga or jnana or karma or ashtanga. Basically, some level of mixture is there. You can see here. It can be karma, jnana or hatha. Some level of mixture is there. It is not pure bhakti yoga. But here Krishna is saying that just remember me, just perform bhakti yoga without any deviation. Don't get into all this life chakra and all that. Just remember without deviation. I'm easy to obtain, O son of Pratha, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. Actually, the reason we are stuck in this world is because of 3 things. You can remember this. This is the only reason why we are stuck in this world, because of these 3 things. First is proprietorship. Second is controllership. And third is enjoyment, propensity to enjoy. I'll repeat again. Proprietorship means I want this. Controllership, I want to control this. And third, enjoyment, I want to enjoy this. These 3 you can see in your life. Anything that is happening, it might be because of these 3 things. Either you want that, or you want to control that, or you want to enjoy that. And because of these 3 things, we are stuck in this material world. And karma, jnana, and hatha yoga, all these 3 yoga are representatives of these 3 things. Proprietorship is a karmi mentality, because karmis, they want. Why karmi works so much like a donkey? Because they want money. Correct? So proprietorship is demonstrated by karmis, and that leads to greed. There are 3 It's explained in Bhagavad Gita, the 3 doors to hell: lust, anger, greed. That how that 3 doors to hell comes from these 3 kinds of things: proprietorship, enjoyment, and controllership. Please understand this very, very clearly, because once we understand what is our loophole, the problem statement kya hai, then we can come to the solution part. Correct? So proprietorship comes from karmi mentality, because karmis like to acquire things. They want proprietorship. Ye bhi chahiye, ye bhi chahiye. And because of that, greed increases. Then controllership. The nature of controllership comes from Hatha Yoga. Why? Because when you do Hatha Yoga, when you do kind of yoga, what you're trying to do, you're trying to control. Either you're trying to control your body, you're trying to control your life fare, you're trying to control your next destination, or maybe you're doing yoga to control the world. Right? Dhruva Maharaj, how he started his meditation was through yoga. And why he was given the path of yoga by Narad Muni? Because he was Kshatriya. Kshatriya, the nature of Kshatriya is to control. Correct? Control means they are controlling the kingdom. That is the nature of Kshatriya, is to control. And that nature was dovetailed in the form of Hatha Yoga by Narad Muni. Narad Muni was a great teacher. And then we see that Hatha Yoga when he did, but because there was some element of bhakta, that bhakti was there, it led to when Lord Vishnu came, he completely understood what a blunder I was doing, and he asked for forgiveness then. And he said, Kachan vichinvam api divya ratnam. I was looking for broken piece of glass through karma by getting a greater kingdom or something, and by doing Hatha Yoga and all. But actually what I got is immortal diamond. What it means, I got the darshan of you, my Lord. Right? So proprietorship comes from karmis, which leads to greed. Then controllership comes from Hatha Yoga or yogic practice. Again, please understand, yoga is not bad, but why it is done, that has to be very carefully understood. If we are doing yoga to maintain our body, to maintain our mind, so that we can concentrate on the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, it is wonderful. But if we want to do yoga to control things or to have good muscles or something to show off, then it will lead to anger. Why it will lead to anger? Because we want to control things through Hatha Yoga, but when that controlling is not happening, then we'll get frustrated and we'll get angry. Like for example, Ravana wanted to want a control over Mother Sita, but he was not able to do it. Mother Sita was not getting controlled, and that was leading to more and more anger to Ravana. Ki yaar, ye control nahi ho rahi hai, right? And he also did so much tapa, everything, austerity and all he did, right? So when you're trying to control something, see the fight between husband and wife, why it happens? If we really understand, the fight between husband and wife is happening because both of them want to control their decision on the other partner. Correct? And when that decision is not getting controlled, it leads to frustration and anger. Correct? Because there is a controlling mentality. So yogi or Hatha Yoga leads to controllership, which leads to anger. And finally, enjoyment tendency. Enjoying propensity means to enjoy something. That comes from jnani. Why? Because when you have knowledge, you want to show off that knowledge. And that leads to pride, which leads to lust. So lust, anger, and greed. Lust doesn't mean just between two opposite genders or sex. That is not lust. Lust also means trying to. It can also mean highest level of pride. That is also lust. Or highest level of greed can also mean lust. Correct? So why we are stuck in this material world is because of these 3 things: proprietorship, enjoyment tendency, and controllership. And when we have Mishra Bhakti, either Karma Mishra Bhakti, Jnana Mishra Bhakti, or Hatha Yoga Mishra Bhakti, when you have this kind of Mishra Bhaktis, then it cannot give us perfect life. And that is what it is mentioned here in 14th verse. Krishna is saying that you practice devotional life, but without deviation. Now, when we hear all this lofty terms, we feel like, ye kaise karenge, right? But that is the beauty of Srila Prabhupada's movement in ISKCON. Srila Prabhupada is teaching us how to convert that proprietorship into puppetership. When Srila Prabhupada came to New York, He said, I don't know whether to go left or go to right. Krishna, I am your puppet. Please make me dance as you want. So he converted the proprietorship of I want this to you make me dance how you want. Then that controllership tendency was converted to, one can convert to servitorship. Controllership means what? I want to control something. And servitorship means what? That I want to be controlled by something, by someone. And one can try to do that by Krishna, by praying to Krishna that please engage me in some service. We need to be engaged in some service. That is leads to the third point, which is enjoyment. Instead of enjoying something, we can see if we can get engaged in something. So enjoyment to engagement, proprietorship to puppetership, and controllership to servitorship. And that is what Krishna consciousness is all about. Trying to dovetail our tendency in Krishna consciousness. Whatever we are doing, if we can remember Krishna in that. There's a beautiful story about Bilva Mangala Thakur. He's Bilva Mangala Thakur. He was a very he was a prince, but he was attached to a prostitute. Her name was Chintamani. And then that Bilva Mangala Thakur, what he did is something he did very crazy. It was raining very heavily, and somehow he reached to the house of Chintamani. And then Chintamani said that the amount of effort you have put to reach me today, with that much amount you would have put to reach to Krishna, you would have reached by now, basically. The amount of effort you had put in. So then he understood what a blunder I was doing. I was trying to run behind things, which is very temporary. And then he goes to Vrindavan. And here you see, there is another pastime why he loses his eyes. Will not go there because of the shortage of time. What is the time? 7:55. Yeah. So we'll not go there. But then he sings a very beautiful poetry. I want to read it to you. Let me show you that poetry. Bilva Mangala Thakur, Vraje Prasiddham. So this song was sung by Bilva Mangala Thakur, and he says, Karagrahe Vasa Sada Hridaye Madiye Mad Bhakti Pashridrida Mandana Nishchalasan. Tvam Krishna he Pralaya Koti Shatantarepi Sarvaswa Chaura Hridayam Ahi Mochayam. So Bilva Mangala Thakur is saying that, here he's saying that by my devotion, I will capture you in my heart, which is full of darkness. And that heart is compared to a cave. So what Bilva Mangala Thakur is saying is that my heart is like a cave, and you please enter into this heart and destroy all the darkness. And he uses the word Krishna, another name, why he uses the word prison house, the darkness, cave, by because in that Hari, or lion. Hari, another name of Hari is lion. So when lion enters the cave, no other animal can enter. Correct? Because he is the king of the world. So that's why the analogy Bilva Mangala Thakur is giving is that my heart is like, please take it as a cave, and you enter the heart. And then once you enter the heart, then everything you will make sure that is destroyed, because no one else can enter. What are the other things that can enter? Karma, Jnana, and Hatha Yoga. Anya Bilashita Shunyam Jnana Karma Denavritam. Our devotion should be without any karma, jnana, and any Hatha Yoga. That is what Bilva Mangala Thakur here is praying. And this is the same photo which I was showing to you about Bilva Mangala Thakur. So how can and simple things we can do. Whatever we are eating, we can offer it to Krishna before eating. In the morning, we can just do a little bit of chanting of Hare Krishna mantra by remembering him. Just small things also, if we do, our life can be molded. And this is how Krishna enters into our life. And once he enters into our life, then he will work hard more than us to make sure that the heart in which he is entering is very clean. So this is a very beautiful poem by Bilva Mangala Thakur. This is Vraje Prasidham. The first word also you see, it says Vraje Prasidham Navanita Choram Gopangananam Chadukul Chauram Aneka Janmarjita Pap Choram Chauragraganyam Purusham Namami. So Bilvamangal Thakur is saying that you are very popularly known in Vrajadham as the butter thief, Navneet Choram. Navneet means butter and Choram means chor. And you are such a thief that you also take the garments of the gopis. You are such a, such a big thief. But you want to take the garment of the gopis, that is good. But bigger than that is you also take away the sins of the devotees. Aneka janmar, many lifetimes of sins might have been accumulated. That also you take away. And that is why Chaura Graganyam Purusham Namami, to such butter thief, to such chore thief, I'm offering my obeisances. So this is the first line of that. So you see that how devotees, they glorify Krishna, right? This is Bilva Mangal Thakur. He's very famous personality in India. And we'll enter, go back. Otherwise I'll get stuck in this. Bilva Mangal Thakur is once when we get time, we'll discuss about his pastime a lot more. He's very sweet. Very sweet devotee. So very advanced Vaishnava. So here he's saying now Krishna starts the next theme where he says how to get the impetus to fix the mind on Krishna by describing the results of Keval Bhakti. Keval Bhakti means, Keval means only Bhakti. It's not Mishra. It is not mixed with Jnana, Karma or Hatha Yoga. Right? We'll see one purport here which can explain this little bit more. Yeah, see here. Everybody is able to see my screen. Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. The reason I asked, I wanted to see if you're listening. Thank you for responding. Okay. So you see here, different processes of liberation have also been described. Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Hatha Yoga. The principles of these yoga systems have some bhakti added. And that is why it is known as Karma Mishra Bhakti, Jnana Mishra Bhakti, Hatha Yoga Mishra Bhakti, because there is little bit of bhakti also added. But this verse particularly mentions pure bhakti without any mixture of jnana, karma, and hatha. Right? Pure bhakti. And in the last verse, this section is very nice. How can we have relationship with Krishna? Right? So here is saying, Bhakta yogis are engaged in 5 different ways. Shanta Bhakta, engaged in devotional service in neutrality. So there are 5 primary relationship one can have with Krishna. First is Shanta Bhakti. Second is Dasya Bhakti, where we see Krishna as the master and ourselves as servant of the Lord. So devotional service as servant. And Sakya Bhakti, that is as a friend. Vatsalya Bhakti as a parent. Parent example, you can think of it, Mother Yashoda and Nanda Baba. Sakya, you can think of it as Arjuna. Dasya, you can think of it as Hanumanji. Correct? So, and Madhurya Bhakti, you can think of it like Lakshmi Narayan, Sitaram, or Srimati Radharani and Krishna. So like this, there are various relationships one can have with Krishna. This is the great blessing of Krishna conscious process of chanting the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Right? And that is why this chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra is so nice. Okay, we'll go to the next verse. Yeah. So we'll go back here. Okay, let's read the we'll read the verse. Mamupetya punarjanma dukkhalayam ashashvatam. So now Krishna is defining this material world. We discussed this during Gita in a nutshell, that how this material world, what are symptoms of this material world? There are 2 symptoms of this material world, dukkhalayam and ashashvatam. Ashashvatam means it is temporary. And we see that anything that we do is temporary. When we might become the CEO of Amazon also, but it will be temporary. In next life, we will not start with CEO of Amazon. We will become someone else, right? Similarly, dukkhalayam. We are trying to strive for happiness, but in that strive for happiness, we're ending up getting some level of miseries, right? We try to work hard to get promotion, and then we wonder, we got the promotion, but we are still struggling, right? Struggling in the sense of now the work is more. So the thing that was supposed to give us happiness is actually giving us more and more misery. We are thinking, oh, now I have to work hard, more hard. Now 1 a.m. Meeting, 2 a.m. meeting, in the night also we are working. Basically, we are working from 5 a.m. to almost 5 p.m. Correct? Or actually more than that. So we are striving for happiness, but in that we are getting more and more misery. Just think about it. In the entire day, we don't even get 1 hour time to maybe practice spirituality. Not even 1 hour. That is so. I mean, we know at the heart of the heart, we know that there is some supreme power who has made this entire cosmic manifestation. We might not know who it is, let's say, but at least we know that we have some faith that there will be someone, but we don't even have that much time to try to find out the answer. We are so busy in our life. And I mean, it is such an irony that we have got this human form of life, but we are not taking full advantage of it. It is like we have got a Mercedes and we are using it as a tractor on the field. It is like that. When we do some mundane activities and not engaging ourselves in spirituality, it is like having a Mercedes like body, human form of body, but treating it as a tractor, doing some mundane work. So Krishna is saying that after attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this material world. When happens this? When they have attained me, which is full of miseries. This is the definition of the material world, because they have attained the highest perfection. So here Krishna is giving the purport. Maybe we can read this purport. It is 8:05. I see Danya Mataji has joined. Danya, would you be able to read the purport? Okay, I'm not able to hear. Okay. Paris, would you like to read the purport? Okay.
Prabhuji, I won't be able to read it right now.
No problem, no problem. Maybe after some time.
I'm outside.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. Who can read the purport? Someone wants to volunteer to read the purport?
I can
Yeah.
read.
I can read it. Okay.
Okay. So maybe Avdut can read and then Shikha Mataji can read after that. Yeah.
Okay,
Avdut, you
sure.
want to read?
Yeah. Since the temporary material world is full of the miseries of birth and old age, disease, and death, naturally, he who achieves the highest perfection and attains the supreme planet, Krishnaka, Goloka, Vrindavana, doesn't wish to return. The supreme planet is called planet is described in Vedic literature as Avyakta and Akasara and
Akshara.
Chara Pranam
Paramagati.
Parmagati. In other words, the planet is beyond our material vision and it is inexplicable, but it is the highest goal, the destination for the Mahatmas. The Mahatmas receive transcendental messages from the realized devotees and thus gradually develop devotional services in Krishna consciousness and became so absorbed in transcendental service that they no longer desire elevation to any of the material planets, nor do they even want to be transferred to any spiritual planet. They only want Krishna and Krishna's association and nothing else. That is the highest perfection of life. This verse specifically mentions the personalist devotees of the Supreme Lord Krishna. These devotees in Krishna consciousness achieve the highest perfection of life. In other words, they are the supreme souls.
Thank you, Prabhu. So
No problem.
we'll go to the next verse now. I'm just seeing if anything needs to be discussed here. Okay, we'll go to the next verse. So this is the verse that many had questions about. So we'll go to this slide first. So here we see here.
So, Prabhu, I had a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so here Krishna says, right, that at the time of death, if we remember Krishna, then we will attain Krishna. But then what about our karmas? Will all of that get washed just because at the time of death we remembered Krishna, or will we still have to take rebirth?
So Krishna consciousness in nectar of devotion, there are six results of performing Krishna consciousness. Or you can say, say what happens when you practice Krishna consciousness. There are 6 things. One of this is it is all auspiciousness. One and second one, I mean, there are 6 things, but second thing is it will destroy all the karmas. Whatever karma one has, all those karmas will be destroyed when one has taken complete shelter of Krishna. And we see that in the life of Dhruva Maharaj also, right? If you see Dhruva Maharaj also, you can see the life of Ajamil. Ajamil had done so many blunders, but at the end of the life, he chanted Narayan, right? And as soon as he chanted Narayan, then immediately the Vishnudutas came and said that, actually I can show that video. Yeah, this one. So this was Ajamil, this is in Srimad Bhagavatam. So at the end of the life, he somehow called his son Narayan. And then what happened is, first Yamudutas came because of all the sinful activities that he had done in his life. Correct? But at the end of the life, he chanted the name of, because he chanted the name of Narayan, then immediately Vishnudutas came there.
Leave this man alone. Who are you, James, to challenge us? For we are the Yamadutas.
Right? And then what happens, there is a discussion between Vishnudutas and Yamadutas, and Vishnudutas came, he has chanted the name of Lord Narayan. And Ajamil was seeing all this. Ajamil was seeing, this guy was seeing all this, the fight between the two. And then he understood, my God, what a blunder I had done throughout my life. I was wasting, behaving like cats and dogs. So like basically behaving like animal by not asking the higher purpose of life. And then he performed bhakti in the later half of his life, because he got his life back somehow. And then he perfected his life and he went back home, back to Godhead. So if there is some level of austerities that one has to perform, then Krishna will facilitate that. But all the karmas gets destroyed. That is the beauty of Krishna consciousness. Even 1 second is enough. One has taken if complete shelter. Ramji says to Hanumanji, I think, no, to Vanaras. So what happens is Vibhishan comes, and then Ramji is asking everyone that Vibhishan has come. What should we do? Should we give him should we give him shelter? And many of them said, no, don't give him shelter. This guy is Ravan's man. He will try to cheat us. And then Ramji says that whoever has taken shelter of me has said even once that I am yours, Krishna, or Lord Ramchandra in this case, I am yours. Then Ramchandra says, then I have given my life to that person. So if Lord Ramchandra has given his life to that person, then where is the point of karma? Because karma is under material jurisdiction and Krishna is spiritual. So it is above all this material jurisdiction. Did that answer the question, Namra Prabhu?
Yes, that did.
It destroys all the, not just sinful activities, it destroys all the pious activities as well. There is a Dinabandhu Prabhu, he's Prabhupada disciple. In Vrindavan, he does parikrama. So he was telling this, one devotee was saying this story once. So Dinabandhu Prabhu took very new devotees to Yamuna river. And he said that this is Yamuna river, please take bath here. Whoever takes bath here, all their sinful activities, sinful reactions will be destroyed. And then he said that not just that, even pious reactions will also be destroyed. So slowly people started coming out. Why? Because nobody wanted their pious. But the point is, pious and impious, all these are material level. Everything is destroyed. And because once pious and impious all is destroyed, then one can take complete shelter of Krishna, because then there is no point. You're not at all at material level like that. So we'll go ahead. If Namra Prabhu's answer, it's answered. We see a Dhruva. He did Karma Mishra Bhakti and Jnana Yoga also, but finally Dhruva goes back to Vaikuntha with his mother. Why? Because at the end of the life, when he sees Lord Vishnu, he immediately says that Kachan Vichinvam Apidivya Ratnam, that, oh Krishna, I made a blunder by looking for a kingdom greater than my great grandfather. but I was looking for actually broken pieces of glass. He compared that great kingdom to broken piece of glass, like that. So now this is important, right? This is the point about Lord Brahma. So we'll read that. A Brahma bhuvanal loka punar avartino arjuna mam upetya tu kaunteya punar janma na vidyate. Here he says that right from Lord Brahma to a tiny insignificant person, everyone has to go through the cycle of birth and death. Because Arjuna might have said that, oh, you're telling me to leave. What about if I want to do some yoga and I want to reach the highest Brahma Loka? So Krishna is saying, even at Brahma Loka also you have to come back. Then why? Why is it like that? Krishna will explain in the next verse. Here is said the rebirth of everyone under the control of karma or fruitive actions and reactions, stated in the first two lines of verse 16, will be elaborated in verses 17 to 19. We will see that. The Lord's abode described in the last two verses, verse 16 will be elaborated in verse 22. Okay. So here, Brahma's one day. So Krishna is saying that what is Brahma's one day now? Correct? Sahasra Yuga Paryantam Ar Yad Brahmano Vidu Ratrim Yoga Sahasrantam Teho Ratra Vidojana. So here Krishna is explaining what is Brahma's one day. He's saying Sahasra Yuga, 1000 Yuga is one day of Brahma. Now we'll try to understand what does 1000 Yuga or one Yuga means. But before that, we'll read the translation so that this thing becomes more clear. Last week, one devotee was asking about this, so we'll discuss. We'll read the purport after understanding the slide, then we'll read the purport. By human calculation, a 1000 ages taken together form the duration of Brahma's one day, and such also is the duration of his night. So he's saying a human calculation, 1000 ages taken together form the duration of Brahma's one day. So 1000 yugas becomes duration of Brahma's one day, and such also is duration of his night. Okay, so we will now understand what is Brahma's one day. Everybody is able to see the screen?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, someone. Yeah, very nice point. From Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Prabhu is saying, desires and deserves will decide the next birth, right? So desire, what we desire and what we deserve will decide the destination, right? D. Desire, deserves, and will lead to next destination. Okay, so we see here, Kali Yuga, one Kali Yuga is made of 432,000 years. 432,000 years, out of which 5,000 years has already been completed. Correct? So imagine, we say, right, in maths, let it be X. Correct? So in this case, we will say, let it be K. Then next is, Dwapar Yuga is double of Kali Yuga. So in this case, it will be 2K. Treta Yuga will be 3K of Kali Yuga. And Satyuga is 4K. So all this together is how much? 10K, correct? One part of Kali Yuga, 2 Dwapar Yuga, 3 Treta Yuga, and 4th Satyuga. So all this is 10K. So and this 4 is known as Divya Yuga, or you can think of it as Chatur Yuga, or you can think of it as Maha Yuga. So one cycle of Satyuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, and Kali Yuga. All 4 together becomes 10K. Everybody understood this maths? 10K, why it is? Haribol?
Yes, Haribol.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So then
1K means like one Kali Yuga equal to one Kali Yuga?
No. One Divya Yuga is equal to one Kali Yuga plus one Dwapar Yuga plus one Treta Yuga plus one Satya Yuga.
Yeah, I was asking about the capital K. So it means like that.
1K you can think of it like Kali Yuga. That's correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So then after that, one Manvantara is equal to 71 Mahayugas. So yeah, we'll understand this. What is one Manvantara? And then, and one Manvantara is nothing but 10K is equal to 710K. Each Manvantara is preceded and followed by Sandhya Kal. So what happens is, after every Manvantara, there is a break. Between two Manvantaras, there is a break of 4K, which is, you can say 432,000 into 4 years. And that is known as Sandhya Kal. Okay, 4K. Now we will see the math of Brahma's one day. So one day of Brahma is, so in one day of Brahma, there is 14 Manvantaras. 14 Manvantaras basically means 14 Manus come and go. Some of the Manu that you might have heard of is Swayambhava Manu, Vaivaswata Manu. Have you heard these names before? Any of you?
Yes.
Yeah. So like this, there are 14 Manvantaras. We'll see that if we get time. So, and between each Manvantara, there is Sandhya Kal, correct? So 14 Manvantaras plus 15 Sandhya Kal, and each Manvantara is how much? 710 into 432,000 years, correct? Plus 15 into 4K. Why 15? Because every Manvantara will have initial and starting, right? So 14 Manvantaras means 15 gaps. You understood, right? How it will be? Hare Krishna, be with me.
Yes, yes.
So 14 into 710 plus 15 into 4K. So this will be, you can do the math here. And then it will come to 10,000 K, which is 1000 into 10K. And then 10K was what? We already heard. 10K was actually Mahayuga. Correct?
Correct.
So one Manvantara is 71. So next is 1000 Mahayugas. Correct? So one day is 4.32 billion human years. And one night is 4.32 billion human years. So this 1000 Mahayugas comes to 4.32 billion human years. How it is calculated? 1000 into 432,000 years. That will be 4.32 billion human years. That is one day of Brahma. Similarly, one night of Brahma is again 4.32 billion human years. And that together is 360 days plus 360 days. Then it is close to 3.11 trillion human years. So one life will be 100 Brahma's years, which is close to 311 trillion 40 billion years. Did this calculation made sense?
Yep.
समझला का? Or it was bouncer?
समझला.
So right, perfect. Okay. Okay. So now we'll read the purport. Okay. So this was 16 and 17. Sorry, Kishori came in between and my also focus a little bit. Okay. So now we'll read the purport. What we'll read the purport is only the first paragraph. Okay. Who wants to volunteer?
I can read it.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Danya. So we'll read the purport. Now, whatever we discuss, no, that is what we are reading now. Whatever we saw in the slide, that's what we are discussing now. Go ahead.
The duration of the material universe is limited. It is manifested in cycles of kalpas. A kalpa is a day of Brahma, and one day of Brahma consists of 1,000 cycles of 4 yugas or ages: Satya, Treta, Dvapara, and Kali. The cycle of Satya is characterized by virtue, wisdom, and religion, there being practically no ignorance and vice, and the yoga lasts 1,728,000 years.
Yes, so sorry, 1 minute, Danya. How this number came? This came from 432,000 years into 4. Right? 4 times of Kali Yuga. So that is 1,728,000 years. That is one Satyuga. Okay, go ahead, Danya.
In the Treta Yuga, vice is introduced, and this yuga lasts 1,296,000 years. In the Dvapara Yuga, there is an even greater decline in virtue and religion, vice increasing, and this yuga lasts 864,000 years. And finally, in Kali Yuga, the yuga at the termination of the yuga, Supreme Lord himself appears as the Kalki Avatara, vanquishes the demons, saves his devotees, and commences another Satya Yoga. Then the process is set rolling again. These 4 yogas, rotating 1,000 times, comprise one day of Brahma, and the same number comprise one night. Brahma lives 100 of such years and then dies. These 100 years by Earth calculations total to 311 trillion and 40 billion Earth years. By these calculations, the life of Brahma seems fantastic and interminable, but from the viewpoint of eternity, it is as brief as a lightning flash. In the causal ocean, there are innumerable Brahmas rising and disappearing like bubbles in the Atlantic. Brahma and his creation are all part of the material universe, and therefore they're in constant flux.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Danya. Okay, we'll go ahead. So this is what the calculation for Brahma is. So Krishna is saying that even Brahma has to again come back. Right? We'll go to the next verse. So at the beginning of Brahma's day, all living entities become manifest from the unmanifest state. So one question someone had asked last time, that you said that there are 14 Manus in the life of Brahma. So in which Manvantara are we in right now? So that Manvantara that we are in is known as Vaivasvata Manu. Like that, there are many other Manus, Chakshusha Manu, Swayambhuva Manu, like that. So we are right now in Vaivasvata Manu. So, okay. So what happens is during the day, Brahma's day, the living entities are in manifested state. That means you can think of it, they're in active state. And during the night, they're in unmanifested state. You can think of it, they are merging to the body of the Ananta Vishnu, the Lord Vishnu. We'll see that more in detail in Srimad Bhagavatam. Here we can just, Krishna is here giving only, you can think like a capsule thing. But it is expanded a lot in Srimad Bhagavatam. What it really means. See, it's mentioned they are merged into the unmanifest again. What it means, see Lord Vishnu here. So we'll skip that part. So we'll go to the next verse now, 19th verse. Again and again, when Brahma's day arrives, all living entities come into being, and with the arrival of Brahma's night, they're helplessly annihilated. Correct? So we'll skip this also. So 20th verse. Now he is saying, yet there is another unmanifest nature which is eternal and is transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested matter. What it is talking about is the spiritual world now. Krishna is saying it is supreme and is never annihilated. When all in this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is. So when Brahma's day is ended, the entire material world is also destroyed, sort of. At least partial destruction happens. But the spiritual world, Golok Vrindavan, as Golok Dham, Vaikunthas, those are never affected. Those are not going through partial destruction. Here is saying, Pas tasmatu bhavanyo vyakto vyaktat sanatana yasa sarveshu bhuteshu nashyasuna na vinashyati. Na vinashyati means that is not destructed. When the material world is going through partial or complete destruction. So next. That which the Vedantis describe as unmanifest and infallible, that which is known as a supreme destination, that place from which, having attained it, one never returns, that is my supreme abode. So Krishna here is saying that that abode is mine. So let me just make sure if I'm missing something. Yeah, this is okay. This is okay. So we will do this last verse and we will end here, 22nd verse. We'll read the verse, it's beautiful verse. Purusha sa parapartha bhaktya labhyastunanyaya yasyanta sthani bhutani yena sarvam idam tatam. So here Krishna is saying, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is greater than all and is attainable by unalloyed devotion. Ananya Bhakti, again he is saying, devotion without deviation. This is nice, yeah, nice point to remember. Devotion without deviation. Although he is present in his abode, he is all pervading and everything is situated within him. Someone can volunteer to read the last paragraph. Yeah, to read the last paragraph. Who wants to read?
Yeah, I can read.
Go ahead. Oh, who said? Who all said? One I heard from Namra, another.
Shikha.
Shika, you can, he got, so maybe you can read next, he can read. Go ahead, Shika.
The one which is highlighted, right? The Brahma.
Yeah.
The Brahma Samhita also confirms that although the Lord is always in the supreme abode, Gokula Vrindavan, he is all pervading so that everything is going on nicely. As stated in the Vedas, Parasya Taktir Vividhaiva Shruyate Swabhavikini Janano Bala Kriya Ko. His energies are so expansive that they systematically conduct everything in the cosmic manifestation without a flaw, although the Supreme Lord is far, far away.
Yeah. Sorry, Shika, can you also read second last paragraph? This one. Till here.
Yes. To enter Krishna's supreme abode or the innumerable Vaikuntha planets is possible only by bhakti, devotional service, as clearly indicated here by the word bhaktya. No other process can help one attain that supreme abode. The Vedas also describe the supreme abode and the supreme personality of Godhead, which is in Gopala Tapani Upanishad 1.21. Eko Vasi Sarva Kya Krishna. In that abode, there's only one supreme personality of Godhead, whose name is Krishna. He is the supreme merciful deity, and although situated there as one, he has expanded himself into millions and millions of plenary expansions.
Thank you. So here he's saying that, see, we have heard so many gods. There are 33 crore devtas, that close to 330 million. If we spend 1 minute also, 1 second also on one devta, we might end up spending 3,300 years, 3,300 years to worship all the demigods. We know it is impossible because we only live for 60, 70 years, right? And that is why Krishna is saying in Srimad Bhagavatam, Taror Mulanish. Yeah, we'll just end it with this verse. He's saying, as pouring water on the root of the tree energizes the trunk, branches, twigs, and everything else, and as supplying food to the stomach enlivens the senses and limbs of the body, simply worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead through devotional service automatically satisfies the demigods who are parts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? Because we can't feed each and every limb of our body. We have to feed the stomach through the mouth, and then everything gets nourished. Similarly, just watering the root of the tree, all the demigods will be nourished or will be happy. We'll stop here. I went over time. And how we can, when it's mentioned that you can serve, how we can serve Supreme Personality of Godhead is by chanting the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. It's a very simple way, but we can try to, every day in the morning, we can try to chant on beads, or it's known as Kirtan. Kirtan comes from the word Kirti. Kirti means to glorify. We can just do a simple practice of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and that can help us to take shelter of Krishna and pray to Krishna that please Krishna engage us in your service. Okay, it's 8:32. We'll stop here. If anyone has any questions, we can discuss, or we can end here, and next week we can start with the last part of the 8th chapter, and we'll complete that chapter next week. So if there are no questions, I would request everyone to unmute, and we can all chant together once the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So if possible, please everyone can unmute and loudly, with prayerful mood, praying to Krishna to engage in a service, we can loudly chant all together. Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare
Hare
Ram,
Hare
Ram
Ram,
Ram,
Ram Ram,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare.
Mahamantra ki Jai, Srila
Jai.
Prabhupada ki Jai, Krishna ki Jai.
Jai.
Thank you, dear devotees. We'll stop here. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.